We keep talking about how difficult and puzzling our jobs are. We want to sound smart, we want to sound sophisticated, and so we do that. But is it really the case? You know what's actually puzzling? The Settimana Enigmistica, that goes out every week here in Italy, and yet I've been carrying around this battered copy for months now because I'm toiling away at every single definition because it's really hard. Yeah, Italian is not my native language, and still it's really hard, and I'm like, oh my god, so many actual puzzles and riddles. But our jobs as tech leaders really not that puzzling, not that big of a riddle. And I think you can very simply find the right things you need to do to guide yourself to be an actual, efficient, impactful, and meaningful leader in your company. It doesn't matter if you're a co-founder or not, you can have so much impact if you just stop getting all in your head and telling yourself, yeah, this is always so complicated. No, it really is not. The job itself is not easy, but knowing what you need to do and finding your North Star as a leader, it's not all that intense. It's not something that you're going to have to rack your brain around for months. No, you can very easily tell what are the important things, and you just need to start going there. Stop making excuses. Stop making everything more complicated than it has to be. Just start doing the actual work, and you'll see so much progress. This is what this video is actually about. What CEOs always tell me they want to see from their CTOs, from their VPs of engineering, and how you can get there. And the first phase is to stop allowing yourself to think it is all that difficult, because it ain't. Let's get to it. By the way, if you're new here, hi, I'm Aviv Ben-Yosef. I'm a tech executive, coach, and consultant, and I help people just like you create teams worth leading, because that's too short to lead mediocre teams, to be frank. And one of the main reasons that we lead mediocre teams, that we fail to fulfill the potential of ourselves and of our teams, is that we often get too much in our heads and don't think about how to get the work done itself. How do I make progress? We get too much into analyzing, thinking about maybe this is possible, what are they thinking, what would my CEO want, would anyone be angry with me, would anyone be upset, that we get stuck. We don't actually make any forward movement. And there's no real reason to be stuck there. You can just start making those first steps. Let's talk about that exactly. Is your job how to be a good and effective CTO or VP of engineering, what have you? Is that big of a riddle? Is it that complex to understand? No, it really isn't. Yeah, what the company needs to do, yeah, that might be unknown. Like, how do we get to an MVP? How do we do something that the customers actually want? That's an unknown for most startups. But when it comes to your day-to-day, what you need to do, your operating system, those are a lot simpler and more straightforward. Let's start with the basics. Talking to dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of CEOs a year, I usually ask them how would they even recognize it if their CTOs were performing well. What's their yardstick? How would they measure it? And what everyone says, what they start with, obviously, is the engineering team is delivering what we need, doing it pretty much on time, and doing it at a relatively same cost. Okay, that's the basics. And surprisingly, for many startups, that's not a given. So if you're managing to at least be at a spot where your team is reliably delivering, getting things done, doing what the company asks them to do, what products say is important, and doing it pretty much on time, pretty much on budget, you're already doing much better than average. I know that's sad to hear, but that's the truth as I'm seeing it everywhere. So let's start with that. If you can do that, you're already doing much, much better. And that means that for you, before you start thinking about grand visions, about your strategy, about the values for the team, about your 2-year plan, whatever. I don't care about those. Usually, those start mattering only once you've got the foundations right. Once the team is starting to gather momentum, it's delivering the right things, you see that the trend makes sense, and you're progressing where you ought to be progressing. If you cannot do that, stop thinking about all of the bigger picture things. Stop telling yourself that you're oh so important. If you can't get that done, nothing else matters. This is the simple stuff. As I said, it's not complex. There's no big riddle here. No one needs a genius management, thought leader that goes to conferences and whatever if the team itself is not delivering. Okay, that's the basic part. You have to get that right, and only then can you start moving upstream. Only then can you start getting more impact. So thinking about things at a higher altitude. I always say to my clients that we want to move up to ensure that we are doing what real leaders do, but that's the privilege that you get once you get the basics operating. If you disengage before, you're just essentially putting yourself on a fast track to losing your job. So do not do that. Start with getting the basics done. If you're having issues with that, that's outside the scope of this video. It's something that maybe I can record another video about. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. And of course, you can always reach out to me for a diagnostic call. The details are in the description of the video. Now, assuming that you're getting the basics done, what's next? And when I ask CEOs and I tell them, okay, what would you describe as the next goal? You have a team that's operating, what would you like then? Now, usually what I hear is a bit less clear for the CEOs to say, but I'm hearing sorts of repeating descriptions. I want people who tell me what needs to be done. I want people who take the initiative. I want people who take things off my plate. People who give me solutions, not problems. People who don't wait to be told what to do, that actually start doing things, that understand the business and don't think just about themselves, that don't think just about how to make their team happy, but think about what the business needs. That sort of stuff. And I'm guessing you can sense that there's a common thread here. What CEOs want, not just from the CTOs, but also from the CTOs, is having executives who are genuinely there, part of the team, not waiting like pawns to be moved, but actually looking around, looking for opportunities, looking for ways to deliver impact, and starting, going forth. If you're looking around and you're always saying, yeah, that's a problem. I see a problem there. That might be wrong. It's better than you being completely idle and being completely passive, just waiting there to be told what to do. But it doesn't help all that much. I mean, if you notice that there's a big issue coming, I'd rather you say, hey, a train is coming, even before you say, hey, people, let's move out of their way, or pull them yourself. It's better than nothing. But what most companies need is more people at the higher ranks of the company who take action, who initiate things, who see an opportunity and start going toward it. Once you can see that an opportunity makes sense, it's not a crazy bet that doesn't make any sense, you can start moving towards that. For essentially every CEO I talk with, that's what they want. People often think when I talk to them that, oh, what would the CEO think if I would start going to those meetings, if I would ask questions about the business, etc. Now, I agree, there are CEOs who suck, who do not want to give anyone else responsibility, who do not see their CTOs as real executives, but as people who know how to operate the printer and talk to the geeks. If that's the case, usually that's not something that I would suggest fixing. I would suggest leaving, because you cannot fix those people, at least not easily. But the vast majority of CEOs actually understand the value of technology. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't be creating a tech company. And therefore they see the value of what you can do. They would love to work with someone that has that edge, that has that initiative. And therefore, if you start taking the initiative. They would be so glad to give you the space, give you the opportunity, see you start doing things. Yeah, I'm seeing it all over the place. I can talk to people in the same company where the CDO is all in their head. Oh, what would I do? How do I approach this? How would I describe this? How do I even get started? And when I talk to the CEO, they're like, come on, why aren't they making a move? Why do I never hear any idea coming from that side? Why do I always have to be the first to initiate things? Why can't they just start going at it? So I always see this sort of like invisible wall between those two parts of the company that essentially want the same thing, yet each thinks the other person wants something else or doesn't realize what's possible. So I'm here to tell you it's possible. Start making your move. Worst case scenario, you're going to get a slap on the wrist. I don't think that's that terrible. You can just start making progress, start making your first plans, start suggesting things. Take the initiative and do something. I mean, what are you waiting for? No one's going to come tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, I think now would be a great opportunity for you to try something new. No, you just need to start doing it. So have at it. Again, I'm not saying it's all easy. I'm not saying it's straightforward to come up with those initiatives, to find things to do that are impactful, that can actually help the company. But I am saying that once you notice one of those, once you have an idea, when you think you can do something, when you have those first steps, when you can think of a POC, whatever, then actually doing it, that's the easy part. Don't try to get some sort of permission over months and see how to get it done. No, have an idea, box it in a way that others can see how it's manageable, what sort of risk we're taking, and say, I want to do that. I'm going to be leading that. I'm going to be on the line for this. I'm taking responsibility. Just do that and you'll see things move forward. Most people would not stop you. They'd actually love to see you try. Worst case scenario, you just lost what you boxed in that bet. That happens. You're losing time anyway. Every quarter, every month, every sprint maybe, you already have things that you're doing that don't really produce everything you had expected. You have features that actually flop. It happens, right? So you might as well try to have your own ideas. You might as well try to do things on your own, to come up with ideas and push things forward. I will tell you a secret. Most CEOs I work with, even when they already know that their VP of engineering is not the right person, that maybe they need to replace that person, or maybe that it's someone that has a lot of pretty lousy ideas. Even then, even when they can tell me that in those specific words, and they know they need to replace that person, do something, even at that point, if that VP of engineering were to suggest something, most of the CEOs I work with would actually let them do that. They are so desperate to see people trying things out, and they're so busy doing all the other urgent stuff that if you're actually taking responsibility for a project that they don't think is going to be a terrible idea, they're going to let you do that. So just imagine if you're not that bad, if you're actually a good executive, if you're actually a valuable leader and you have a genuinely good idea, almost no one is going to tell you no. Maybe they're going to say, not this week. Okay, I can get that. But essentially no one is going to get angry at someone coming up with a genuinely good idea and taking responsibility for moving it forward. That's actually what most startups want. They want people who take the initiative. You need to stop thinking that there's politics and ego involved here and understand that you can start making progress. If what you're thinking, what you're aiming for is genuine impact, actually helping the company, not how you would look good, not what would make you feel good, but what actually the company needs. Even if it's grunt work, even if it's an unsexy project that no one actually wants to do, but is actually useful, do that, and you're gonna start seeing how you're making real impact. Again, I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it's simple. Do the things that show value. If you see an idea and you can see how to start making progress towards it, and you can box it in a way that you can explain what are the risks, what are the costs, Explain it and start executing. As simple as that. I feel like I'm repeating myself here, but sometimes we have to repeat things even if they're simple, because we don't automatically grasp things and grok what we need to be doing just because we heard it once. So I'm repeating it here, and I'm hoping that something trickles down to your mind and helps you understand that you can find something right now. Usually this week, you can already find something that you know would probably be an interesting thing to do, and take action. Start making progress. You're going to start improving how you act as a genuine leader in the company. You're going to be making your team more valuable, and you're going to see that it's really a lot simpler than you might have thought. When you're listening to videos and talks and reading books, and everything seems so complicated, and people go through these amazing journeys and they have these frameworks, etc. And I understand, I've got them, in my books are just, in my books I've got tools and I've got algorithms for how to approach things in the organization. Sometimes it makes sense, but I'm saying that if you have the foundation, if your team is already gaining momentum and delivering the right things to move forward, you don't have to wait for the perfect situation, to have the perfect idea, and for someone to say, hey, I'm inviting you to come here and start taking action. No, you can find a good opportunity and just start. It's as simple as that. And if you do that, you're already going to be making so much more progress in the company solely for being a force of momentum. If only for that, you're already going to be giving the company so much value. And just imagine what would happen if you kept doing that for a year. If others in your organization got the same attitude, if your peers started doing the same, just imagine how with time your entire company would become much more effective. Think about the compounding effects. You can be the catalyst. So I'm counting on you to do that. If you need help with any of that, my email's in the video description, and I'm happy to jump on a quick diagnostic call to see if I can help you with that. And if you like this, please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Ciao.